The government has begun consultation on its plans to have farms charged for agricultural emissions by 2025 as part of the He Waka Eke Noa scheme. Independent Māori Climate Commissioner Donna Awatere-Huata no Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Porou Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Whakaue is with us now. Tēnā koe, Donna, thank you for joining us.
Kia ora.
Oh, we've got
Neil.
a few.
Hey, Neil, just before you ask me your first question, what a great couple of interviews.
They were,
I mean, a young Māori male mayor, how fabulous, a campaigner on critical health issues. Pretty cool.
It's one of the reasons I love this show so much, because I get to talk to some extraordinary people who I never got to talk to on mainstream, and people like yourself who have been doing the hard mahi for a long time. So I really appreciate you being here as well. But you're right, those two were extraordinary young Māori.
Fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed them both.
Thank you kindly. Consultation documents have been released and set to be signed off by Cabinet early next year. Māori, sheep, beef and dairy farming, as you know, is worth around $13.5 billion annually. How do you think the reforms will impact Māori agribusinesses?
You know, Neil, I haven't really been paying much attention because I just don't believe this government will, in fact, price emissions off the farms. You know, I know they got the consultation document, but, you know, this is a very powerful lobby that we're up against, the farming lobby. They are responsible for about half of our emissions. We are so far behind the eighth ball in meeting our Paris targets, and the Climate Commission has said we have got to reduce the number of cows, beef and sheep. And look, we haven't even begun. So I can't see this government being bold enough and brave enough to tackle that. But it will, if they do, it will definitely impact our Māori farmers. But, you know, my view is, and so it should. And so it should. They've known for 20 years that they're emitting and that it's poisoning the atmosphere, and they've literally done nothing about it. So it's about time they pull their horns in. But the key thing I want to challenge, the key idea I want to challenge is that grass is normal, that the idea that the only thing we can do with our land, the only productive thing we can do is farming. And, you know, it's had an incredible impact. It's poisoned our waters. It's poisoned our airs. It's devastated our people. And still we go on. It's a colonial model imported from Britain, and it's time we got rid of it. What I'm advocating is a return to forestry. Now, if we planted just 1/4 of the available rubbish land that the colonisers have left us in permanent forestry carbon, that is worth a minimum of $16 billion to us by 2030.
Okay.
Now, it's not $13.5 billion, but it's $16 billion by 2030, and it's certainly well looking at it. You know, if we plant double of what we've got, and it's all, I mean, it's steep land, it's good for nothing else, it's growing gorse at the moment, then you're talking $32 billion. Now, that's an alternative source of income. It will provide jobs in the rural sector. Apparently, there are more jobs in regenerative forestry, which is where you plant natives under the pine cover, and you get the incomes from the carbon credits up front to pay for it, which is exorbitant costs of planting natives in the first place. So, you know, there are options, and I think we need to explore. Donna,
give us an idea of what you feel the opportunities that exist for Māori to work with the government on the carbon prices, or be involved in the ETS review somehow.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, you know, Neil, you have hit it on the head in terms of Māoridom's wish list. All we want is to be at the table before they develop all these flash proposals that we end up having to fight against. This year has been a tumultuous year for Māori landowners and for Māori foresters. The government proposed to remove the permanent forestry category from the ETS, which would have a devastating impact on Māori forestry. I mean, we own 40% of the forests. This affects us. But nowhere at no time did any official or the government think to actually get us to the table to ask our opinion before they put all these flash proposals out. So we've been in a bun fight this year trying to overturn that. And I take my hat off to the Māori ministers, to Nanaia and Willie and, Mecca and Penny. They all came to our aid to say to Minister Nash and Minister Shaw, look here, this is going to have a devastating impact on our people. Can you rethink?
Yeah.
And they did. They did. And so thank you to the Labour government for listening to Māoridom, but to the officials, to MFE and to MPI and to Ururako, can you guys bring us in a lot earlier so we're not having to jump over your heads and go to ministers and get, a bit of common sense?
All right. Could always talk to you a lot longer, and we'll have to find some other time for you and I to have a kōrero, long
No
kōrero.
worries.
Love to hear from you, love your information. Independent Māori Climate Commissioner Donna Awatere-Huata, thank you so much for joining us today, ngā mihi.
No worries. Thank you, Neil.